Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tolbert Podcast Show. We have a special guest here, which is Carlos Wallace, and we have some great news and topics that we're going to be discussing with you today. Carlos Wallace is a bestseller author, motivational speaker, and youth advocate. Carlos has written 2 books that have earned the businessman turned social activist national acclaim. Life is not complicated. You are turning the biggest disappointments into your greatest blessings. Is currently an integral part of the psychology curriculum at Lone Star College in Houston, Texas. Carlos, my friend, how are you?
Hey, I'm just glad to be here, man. By way of New York today, and just glad to be alive, brother.
Oh, man, I tell you what, same here, man. And continue to be safe and well. And I think this awesome live show is going to really help a lot of viewers here today to stay in good spirits, but also give them different ideas and methods to help their business and their brand, but also to keep their selves knowledgeable, because you're going to give them some good sauce, and I'm definitely excited, man. So if you don't mind, Carlos, and we'll get this show started for our audience here. Carlos, kind of tell me a little bit about yourself and what got you started writing.
Oh man, I'm just I'm a crazy person when it comes to working. Like I don't know where the end is. You know what I mean? It was an old guy in the Navy with me on the ship, and that guy, it seemed like he never slept. And I asked him one day, I said, Lou, do you ever sleep? He said, I'll sleep enough when I die. So I think I've adopted that ideology, you know. But just a workhorse, man. Like I said, the 2 best-selling books, working on a 3rd. I've helped Liz. She's published 2 children's books. Her 3rd one's due to come out any day. And several other people that I've helped publish. But man, it's one thing after another, man. Working on a documentary, of course, very, very instrumental in the movement, next future leaders, like just the Google next gen leaders, just busy all the time, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations, man, on your marriage, man, and blessings to you. And sounds like you got a lot of great support, and that's a really good thing to have as a special person by your side together. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. And you're absolutely right. It makes things a lot easier because, you know, as an entrepreneur, I don't care what it is. Well, you selling ice cream, books, DVDs, like without that in-house support, it makes it almost impossible, man. So that it does make a difference.
Definitely. So going back to, you're the man of jack of all trades, but actually doing something with it, which I really like, because you can do so much of everything and nothing is accomplished. And I've been there before, you know.
True.
But you're doing something with it. So kind of give us a recap about how you produce the comedy shows and people you managed, and how you're able to manage that and do the book at the same time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I touch on it in the books. What made me started producing comedy shows was I was a union rep, and the superintendent in our region, in the Houston region, he and I didn't see eye to eye on something. So he inadvertently suspended my engineer's license. So therefore, I still had to make a living for my family, man. I had a son in college, you know, a wife, 2 daughters, man. Like it was just an uphill battle. And a friend of mine contacted me from Chicago, and he said, hey, I want to bring Cedric the Entertainer to Houston. And I was like, all right, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to be a part of it. And initially, it was just to invest. You know, it was 3 of us, so I invested a 1/3 of the money. And the other 2 guys, as I mentioned, were in Chicago. So when it came down time for the promotional part,
right,
it's like, look, man, you're boots on the ground in Houston, so we need you to kind of handle that. And I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I just came up with different ideas, and they worked. You know, one thing I said, well, we need to market to a upper middle class family and couples. So I had a team of college students, man. I paid them $20 an hour, and we went around the city and we papered every 24-hour fitness, you know, the gyms.
Yes.
Because I figured, hey, those are ladies that want to be seen, right? So what better place to be seen than at a Cedric the Entertainer comedy show?
Hey.
But Hey, the tickets went on sale on Saturday, and by Tuesday we were sold out. That fast, 3,000
Wow.
seats.
Did you say 3,000?
3,000 seats. 10 o'clock
Wow.
Saturday, and by the end of business day Tuesday, we were completely sold out.
Wow. Man, that's amazing, man. So by you being able to do stuff for this is hot. We're talking about Cedric Entertainer. So this we talking about some
Right.
real good content, some great entertainment. So
Right.
man, I'm speechless. Like that's not only an honor and heartwarming, but it's also okay. I'm building my own business, my brand, but you're paying people. Like you want to give back. Because
Right.
and we'll tell the audience how we met and all that good stuff, but you want to help others be successful as well. It's not all about your personal gain, and you're all about helping others. So I think you get so
Right.
many blessings when you're able to help other people get their goals and stuff like that, and everybody's happy.
Right.
So that's amazing, man. So when it comes to the marketing and going into the marketing, since we're on that topic, by you doing video content work for your brand, and I know you do motivational speaking and teaching, how has video production, along with your articles that you do with press releases, how has the video and the marketing online has helped your business?
Well, with the presence of social media, like it's growing stronger daily, right?
Correct.
Video is probably that's the most effective. Now you have to make that balance between the message, and it has to be entertaining enough to keep people's attention. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's like a commercial on TV. You remember the funny ones, from when we were young. The "Where's the beef" commercial with Burger King.
Right.
Hadn't seen that commercial in 30 years, but I remember it. The Spuds McKenzie dog. Like, so you have to balance between being enough to keep people attention, but at the same time share your message. So video content on the internet, same thing. It's sometimes it can be too long and you lose people, you know, but it can't be too short and you don't deliver the message. So you have to
Correct.
find that balance, man. And once you do that sweet spot, you remain there, sit in it, and continue to make content that match that. But
Right.
it's very effective, extremely effective.
But I think, you says a good thing about, that content. I think you got to know who is your audience first,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Because there's so many people out there, hey, I'm just going to blast this out. But like you said,
No.
I went to upper class, I went to, this level, this demographic. You already know the
Mm-hmm.
audience. You've done the research. So by you doing that
Mm-hmm.
research, you had a great return on investment, I would assume.
There you yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So that's amazing, man. Now, when
Because
it
like you say, you have to know who's willing to buy your product. You can't market it. You can't market steaks to a vegan. Like, that makes no sense. So do the research and stop to think. Like, I didn't say everybody at 24 Hour Fitness loves Cedric the Entertainer, because I had no idea. I don't know. But what I do know is people at 24 Hour Fitness want to be seen. They enjoy their bodies. They want to
right,
show it. And they're probably either they're paired up or looking for a mate. So
right,
when you start talking about an event with 3,000 people, you know what I mean?
right,
So that's a great opportunity to find that mate, or to look good in front of people, or however you look at it.
right,
Because
exactly.
everybody enjoys laughing. Everybody enjoys laughing.
Yes,
That part is, we're past that. So how do
yes,
we get to the people that we want to come laugh?
exactly, exactly. So speaking, you went from entertainment, you done some writing, motivational speaking. Tell me about the documentaries. Some of the stuff that you're working on and upcoming. Is those documentaries is a part of the book, or is that separate?
Well, with what I do, everything is a connection. I'm being honest. Like, it's not necessarily a part of my book, but several other poets that's in the documentary are preparing to launch their books. So with my assistance. Um, but the documentary, think about, one of the most frustrating things about comedy
Mm-hmm.
is you meet some of the most entertaining guys, like great material, but the world has no idea who they are. And I say no one really appreciates a comic until he or she is a comic plus something, like a comic plus actor, a comic plus radio host, a
Mm-hmm.
comic plus whatever it is, right? So
Right.
my thoughts are like, how can I elevate the art while just appreciating the art? Like, we don't have to go
Exactly.
anywhere beyond it, right? And so when I started with poetry, everybody wanted to add poetry to something. Like, hey, we want you to open up at a church service, or hey, we
Right.
want you to open up at a comedy show, or
Mm-hmm.
open up for a play. And I said, no, how can we put poetry on the front? How can we make poetry stand alone?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked and looked and looked, man, researched, and I couldn't find any documented material about poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there was Def Poetry Jam,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great for its time. It
Right.
really was. But if you talk to poets today, under 30, they may or may not even know what that is.
Right.
And
Right.
but one of the horrible things about poetry is it's such an in-house art. Like, every poet know who's a great poet, but you can't talk to other people; they have no clue. You
Right.
know, it's even sad now. You're starting to see some rappers, uh, they're actually poets, but they release themselves out as a rapper so they can get the notoriety. Wale is a poet. Like, he was. If you ask any poet, they go, yeah, yeah. He converted. He became a rapper so he could sell his music. But he's actually a poet. And
Right.
so the
Right.
documentary, the driving force behind that was, I want to put poetry in the front seat.
Right. 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 Man, that's amazing. So by you being able to do all of these things, obviously it sounds like to me that um, it makes you happy. You're doing something that you enjoy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you have to look at it like this, Dan. You may die today. We may
Mm-hmm.
not even finish this interview and have a massive heart attack and go.
Mm-hmm.
So success to me is what people think of me when I'm gone. When they say, man, I'm glad he was able to finish this documentary because it has really helped me. It has really helped my career. It really made a stamp on the world. When you're doing that type of work, you will never die.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be here in the physical form, but people will be talking about your books, your work,
Right.
your documentaries, your movies, whatever you
Yep.
created that made an impact
Mm-hmm.
forever. And
Exactly.
that's important to me.
And that sounds like to me that goes to who you are as a person, your brand, your professionalism, you know, integrity, character, right? So that
Thank you,
plays
sir.
that yeah, man, that plays a big part. So we actually met, and I'm talking to our audience. We met months ago, and we worked on a project on a documentary. And I want to kind of tell the audience about you with the next gen, if you can share that with what you do too on that, but also share the audience, how we worked on a project and how that brought us together with you, doing some stuff at Google, and yeah, kind of share the audience with that, and also talk about how we worked as a team,
Hmm.
and doing what we enjoy doing, and so if you don't mind, kind
Yeah.
of share a little bit about that.
Well, with those that know me, God is everything, right? And this is just a testimony. Um, how I came about Google Next Gen, I don't know. You know what I mean? It was requests suggested that I be a part of this amazing team. It's 100 of us all around the United States. And the first thing I told them when I got there is, look, all the thing I know about Google is a search engine. I don't know anything about tech or all this highfalutin stuff. And they said, don't worry, we want you for what you do in the community. And what we do at Google Next Gen is we make sure the community is not left behind. That's our number one thing. And so that I know about. I know
Yes.
about speaking for those underserved and underprivileged. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my part. I don't have to know how to program, a driverless car or any of the fancy stuff that Google does. Now, with the project that we're working on, Dr. Brooke Bello and my man Chance Glasgow, they met at a Google meeting that I missed actually, and Dr. Bello had this idea to where we could counsel through Chance's phenomenal program, Rumi. And so we came together one weekend to film, and that's where your amazing work comes in, to film and document the impact that that type of counseling has on the victims and recovering victims. And I tell you, you and I talk for, I don't know, we talk during breaks,
Right.
2 to 5 minutes here and there, man.
Right. Right.
But by the end of the day, I mean, we were on together a day and a half,
Yeah.
but by the end of that time, I felt like I'd known you forever. I knew you were a man of God, a man of high moral ethics. And those two things speak a lot to me. Um, and so we exchanged numbers, and here we are, almost a year later. And like I said,
Yeah.
you're like family now. It's not a
Yeah.
guy that I know. Like, this is family. So, but
Absolutely.
that's just how God works. That's how God works. And here's the beautiful thing: neither one of us got paid a dime to be there that day.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we spent our own money to be there. And but look at what comes from it. Look at all the fruits from that labor. And that's what I want people to understand. It's not just about money right up front. Like, you'll block so many blessings worrying about money right up front, and it'll shortchange you every time.
Man, well, I can tell you, man, appreciate you sharing that with me, because I actually picked up the same thing about you. And I think, when you work with someone, it's, I don't know how to explain it, but there's good vibes, right? That's all I felt. There was good vibes in this process. And yeah, thank you, man. It's a good to have you and be part of your projects. And like you said, it's like family with family, man. So I really appreciate that, man. So what we're gonna do here coming up, audience, we got something special that Carlos is going to share with us here shortly. But we're gonna go on a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Thank you for coming back to Tolbert Podcast. We are back from a quick commercial break. We have Carlo Wallace here with us here, and we're going to go back into the show, guys. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Carlos, and some of the audience want to know about this here too. Can you share with the audience why you did not sell the rights to your book, Life is Not Complicated?
Okay, so initially, the initial offer to write a book was $80,000. And I know some people are like, man, that's a lot of money. Well, it's really not. When you stop to think about it. And so, and the marketing analysis, they felt like I could sell 25,000 books, regional. And I felt different. I don't know if it was just my cockiness or my arrogance, but I felt different, right? And so, throughout the process, as I was learning the breakdown and how it sells and the money and where it goes, I started to think to myself, man, I could do this myself.
Right.
I could take this risk and bet on myself, right? But at the end of the day, the number one reason was the book is it's about my family. I mean, it's primarily about my family. And I know what happens when you sell the rights. They'll alter some stories. There's a story in there about my mother. Her first year in college, freshman year, was the first year of integration in Texas. And she was the only black on the basketball team. And she would hit the game-winning shot, but had to eat on the bus by herself because the restaurant was whites only. Stories like that is the reason I didn't sell the rights, because I can assure you, if I sold the rights and they made a movie, at some part, the coach stood up and told the restaurant, either she comes in or none of us comes in. And I'd be okay if that really happened, but that didn't happen, and they'd have to, read the book and you'll find out how that ended or how it continued. But the coach never stood up and made that stance. But I assure you, if it was a Hollywood film, that's the way the story would be told. But as long as I maintain the rights, no one will be able to tell that story different.
Right.
And also, I don't want 3 or 4 generations from now, my grandkids, or great, to have to purchase that book. It's about their family. It's their legacy, so they shouldn't have to buy that book. But it's a lot of reasons, and those being the most important. And of
Right.
course, uh, the money part. Well, I've sold a little over 300,000 now, so I'm a little bit past that 25,000. But
Yes.
um, look how God works.
Wow. Man, that's touching, man. Wow. So, if you're listening to this message and this is something that you're passionate about and to write your books or get started, definitely I highly recommend you to find a good mentor. But also make sure that you go to Carlos Wallace website or check it out on all the platforms like Amazon and so on. I will have the description in the post and also in this show. You'll be able to go straight there. So any future shows that we can look out for during this time or in the future, any updates on that?
Again, well, my second book, The Other 99 Times, Train Your Mind to Enjoy Serenity. There's a show coming to Amazon, The Other 99 Times, Count Your Blessings. Look out for that. Great show. Liz wrote and produced it. It's what she does is interview guests about that one thing that happened to them that was terrible. Like,
Right.
mother died of cancer. And but what came from that? Like what beautiful fruits that came from that labor?
Right.
Because the premise behind the book is we focus too much on the one time things went wrong
Mm-hmm.
instead of thanking God for the 99 that went right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show it's just like a series of interviews, pretty much just like that. How they
Right.
did not get sucked into that one, they kept focused on the 99.
Right, right. Now, and also your podcast, because I know you and your wife have the same podcast. Can you tell us the name of that podcast?
The Author and Anchor podcast, and I'll tell you why we started that, Danny. You and I hadn't really talked about it.
Yeah.
It's because as men, when we get married, right? When a man and a woman gets engaged, what's the first thing? Women look at her and they scream, "Ah, girl, congratulations!" Blah blah blah. And what do? Oh yeah, it's over for you now, brother. No more hanging out. No more. It's like this
Yeah.
darkness is cast on us, right? Like, and so
Yeah.
I want to dispel that because it gives a notion that marriage for men is the death sentence. Like it's you're dead before you die. You know what I mean? Whereas for women, they celebrate it like it's forever paradise, right?
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do, she and I, was share that it's not forever paradise. And it's not the death sentence either. It's real. And you both go through things, but you both should be appreciated. You both should be celebrated. Both opinions matter in decision making. Like we don't have to go to your mother's Christmas every year. What about my mother? You know what I mean? Like there
Right.
are couples that legitimately have this argument.
Yeah.
And you have to find that balance.
Mm.
And so that's what our podcast does. We talk about that balance, and we argue on there. Because we're both passionate about how we feel.
Yeah. So, Carlos, kind of tell us a little bit about you and your wife's podcast, and how did you guys get that started, and share that with us.
Hey, I've never talked to you about it,
Yeah.
but so it's going to be new to you too. But she and I started that podcast because it's just the difference in how we look at marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when a woman gets married, it's first thing women say, "Oh, let me see the ring, girl." Ah, then they jump around, they clapping and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and they would say, "Yeah, me and old girl got engaged." We say, "Oh man, it's over. Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to play ball with us on Saturdays no more." Like it's darkness is cast on us, right?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
what she and I wanted to do was start a podcast they show like for women it's not forever paradise and for men it's not a death sentence. It's a great balance,
Right.
between the two. And it's just about being realistic.
Right.
I don't like men that think that marriage, man, your whole life is over now. No, your life should get better. Your life should actually get better. Her life should get better. And so that's what the podcast is about. And I'm gonna tell you, we argue on there, man, because we're very passionate about what we're saying, right,
Mm-hmm.
and how we feel. But once we turn the mics off, it's right back to, she's Miss Wallace, I'm Mr. Wallace, and we still have to carry out about our day, But my father told me, he said, man, the best thing you'll ever be is an example.
Mm-hmm.
Be the example of what it is you want to see. And so that's what that's all about.
Wow. That's, shoot, I tell you what, that's very good, man. Well, I'm going to have your podcast so our audience can get subscribed to that channel as well. And I have that. So after said and done, right? What is your ultimate goal when everything is done, as far as in you achieving your goals? How does that look for you, your ultimate goal?
I just want to leave the world a better place, better than it was when I got here, And I have to say, it continues to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I came here by way of post integration, like right after. So stories about my mother and not being able to go into a white owned restaurant, we're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I hear people try to compare two black guys getting kicked out of a Starbucks to that, like that's no comparison, man. And don't
Yes.
get me wrong, I think you should have the liberty to go buy coffee wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But me personally, I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. If they don't want me, they don't need my money. Because my philosophy and my idea is wherever I go, I make that place better. So if you don't want me there, you don't deserve me making you better.
Right. Well said. Well said. Well, thank you for coming on the show here today, Carlos Wallace. We're going to also make sure we have all of the information that our audience can take a look at to go to your books and go ahead and get those subscribed. And also, guys, feel free to subscribe to Tolbert Podcast. We're here live. And thank you so much for coming on the show here, Mr. Carlos.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Anytime. If you ever need me again or come back, if I'm allowed, I would love to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Until then, folks, have a good one.